the Bashkirs were still arguing, the big boss finally showed up. He was wearing this massive fox fur hat, and as soon as he arrived, everyone went dead silent and stood up. The interpreter whispered, "That's the chief." Pahom didn't skip a beat. He grabbed his best robe and 5 pounds of his premium tea and offered them to the chief as a bribe. A gift. The chief took them, sat in the seat of honor, and listened to his people talk for a bit. Then he looked at Pahom and said in Russian, "All right, fine. Pick whatever land you want. We have plenty to go around." Pahom was thrilled, but he was also a bit paranoid. He thought, "I need to get this in writing. They might say it's mine now, but what if their kids try to take it back later? I need a contract, a deed, to make it official." So he said to the chief, "I really appreciate your generosity. You have so much land, and I only need a little, but I feel much better if we could measure it and sign some papers. You know, life is unpredictable, and I want to make sure my ownership is set in stone." The chief actually agreed. He said, "You're right, we can do that. We even have a scribe here. We can go to town later and get everything officially stamped and sealed." Then Pahom asked the big question, "So what's the price?" The chief smiled and said, "Our price is always the same. 1,000 rubles a day." Pahom was totally confused. A day? What kind of measurement is that? How many acres does that even mean? "We don't really do math that way," the chief explained. "We sell it by the day. Basically, as much land as you can walk around on your own 2 feet in 1 day is yours. And the price for that day is 1,000 rubles. Pahom's eyes went wide. "But you can walk around a huge amount of land in a whole day." The chief laughed. "It'll all be yours. But there's one catch. If you don't make it back to the exact spot where you started before the sun sets, you lose your money and you get nothing." "But how will I know where I've walked?" Pahom asked. "Easy," the chief said. "We'll go to a starting point and wait there. You take a spade with you, and whenever you reach a corner or a spot you want to mark, just dig a hole and pile up the turf, the grassy soil, right next to it to make a little mound. Later, we'll take a plow and go from one marker to the next to mark the boundary. You can make the circle as big as you want, as long as you're back before sunset." Pahom was over the moon. This sounded like the deal of a lifetime. They celebrated with more mutton and tea, and they even gave Pahom a fancy feather bed to sleep on. The Bashkirs promised to meet him at daybreak to head out to the starting spot. Pahom went to bed, probably dreaming of all the land he was going to walk into the next day.